poppin', y'all? It is your boy Gardi3, and welcome to Coffee and Sports, the morning show. I know it is not Friday, but here we are again. Mo. This is gonna be like a quadruple double for us this week. How you doing, Mo?
This is the quadruple version of the N1 guys getting at it. What's good? Good morning, Brett. Good morning, chat. Let's get into it.
No, absolutely, and we'll start off with we'll start off with a little action that we had on Sunday, Mo. We know what happened on Sunday. The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. So, first I want to start off by saying congratulations to, Oklahoma City. Just an absolutely terrific season from them. And I'll start off on the Oklahoma City side of things, Mo. And I think it's a really simple question. There are talks about Oklahoma City establishing themselves as almost all-time great team if they knocked off the Pacers in the playoffs after the season they had. So, what do you think, Mo? What do you think that was one of the better, like an all-time great level season that you witnessed with Oklahoma City?
I think they had a terrific season. It's a 68-win team. They had the league's MVP. They have multiple guys on the All-NBA defensive team. Historically, one of the great defenses in NBA history. And they did what they were supposed to do. They finished the job versus a very game, talented, tough Indiana Pacers squad. I think OKC is deserving of all the flowers headed their way, more than deserving. And look, I'm giving them props because it's not easy being an overwhelming favorite and then being able to finish the job off, because there is a high level of expectation and pressure. And to their credit, they fulfilled that. So I'm excited for what they've done for the season we just had. And I'm more excited to see if they can turn around this coming year and be our first repeat champion in like 7 years.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to see how they add to their talent pool. Obviously, they have 2 picks in the draft tonight, but there are rumors that they might be trying to move up into the top 10, which I think makes sense for them to do, because with Oklahoma City, like, you already have limited roster spots and a lot of talent to fill out. So if I'm Oklahoma City, I'm condensing those picks into one player. If that's a move into the top 10, great. Or even if it's like the 11th or 12th pick, that would be fantastic. But if I'm Oklahoma City tonight, take both picks, condense them, get only one player, because I don't think they even have the room to do 2.
Yeah. And look, and I think this is another case of Sam Presti playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. He knows that eventually what happens? You're going to have to give J-Dub that extension. You're going to have to give Shea that extension. Chet's going to want that money. And then the other parts, Case and Wallace and Wiggins will want their money. And you can't pay everybody. But what you can do is you can keep your core intact by adding more young talent that are on cap-friendly deals. And Sam Presti has been one of the best to do it. And I expect him to do the same this coming season.
Absolutely. What's up, Cottrell? He says he does not see the Thunder repeating. Teams smell blood in the water with the East being wide open.
Look, I don't know if they're going to repeat or not, but I understand that Vegas has them as an overwhelming. Why would you not? They just won the title. So, look, the way this works, they're the defending champions until somebody knocks them off next year. Barring major injury, I don't see a path where they don't end up at least back in the conference finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, speaking of the East side of things, that's just an unfortunate way for the Pacers season to end. Halliburton comes out aggressive. It looks like he smells blood in the water. Hits 3 threes in the first quarter,
man.
And then, yeah, the third time we've seen it, the Achilles just goes on him, and that was it for the Pacers. I'll give them credit. They fought until the third quarter, and then the Thunder just absolutely pulled away. Now, I I will admit I didn't like the coaching job that Rick Carlisle did after the Halliburton injury, and what I mean by that is the third quarter he gave Pascal Siakam like 6 minutes of rest, and I didn't agree with that coaching decision.
I didn't understand that either.
I thought Pascal needed to play at least like 45, 46 minutes pretty much in order for them to have a chance. And up until they pulled them, they were only down 4, and they pulled them for those 6 minutes, and that just was the knockout blow.
I'm with you. In a game 7, I'm going Tom Thibodeau style. Pascal, you're playing 48 night. You're playing 48 minutes, bro. Like, you can rest during the TV timeouts, but I need you in there. I need a big game from Pascal Siakam. It doesn't have to be a 30-point game. It could be a 25 and 12 with a couple of steals and blocks, but I think they needed him on the floor because with Halliburton gone, you didn't really have a definitive number one option. Even though I thought TJ McConnell again had one of those spurts where he was almost unguardable, but eventually even he ran out of gas because nobody came along for the ride with him.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just unfortunate. Like, to me, like, if you want to play like Pascal, like his normal minutes, your normal rotations with Halliburton in the game, that makes sense because they were, doing fine with that all series. Yeah, but once Halliburton left the game, that was just kind of, to me, a sign that you're just like, yeah, Pascal, you're not really sitting tonight, dude. Good luck.
Right. I was so fired up when Halliburton, I don't know about you, but when he hit that third 3, I jumped out of my chair and I was like, let's go. Let's go. I was like, Hallie came to play tonight. And then it was like a couple of minutes later, devastation. And look, you give the Thunder all the credit in the world. They're the champs. And look, we don't know whether they would have won or not if Halliburton had played, but injuries happen. The same way I don't water down the Raptors championship in 19, the way I don't water down the Warriors championship in 2015, I'm not going to water down the Thunder's championship.
And I completely agree with that. I don't think I'm not going to water it down. I'm just going to congratulate them and move on because that is part of the game. So, yeah, by the way, it almost feels like the Pacers had a little bit of foresight, by the way, with this too. Because obviously right after Game 5 when, Halliburton suffered that calf strain, what did they do? They traded for that 2026 first rounder of theirs back. So, they weren't, banking on, the Achilles popping, but,
right.
I'll give the front office a little bit of credit to, get that pick back just in case something did happen. Because when it comes to a calf strain, we know the risk. We saw it multiple times earlier in the playoffs, and we know, the precedent of a calf strain turning into this with, the Kevin Durant injury. So once the Pacers heard, calf strain, they're like, call the Pelicans. Let's get that 26 first back. So,
no, go ahead.
No, so I'll give their front office credit for having the foresight to, see the injury and do that.
I feel like, look, everybody can be a Monday morning driver. I'll just say this. If I were in the position in the Pacers front office, the coaching staff, the medical staff, the training staff, knowing what you know, and Halliburton himself, who said he knew there was a risk, I'm protecting him from himself. I know you want to compete. I know you want to go out there and do something special. You're not playing. You're our franchise player. You're our best player. I'm not doing that. You're not playing at all. That's just me. I mean, what's done is done. We move forward. I wish him a speedy recovery. Same way I wish Dame Lillard. The same way I wish Jason Tatum and anybody else, Kyrie, that suffered a cataclysmic injury. I wish them all speedy recoveries. Those non-contact injuries, they always are the most devastating ones.
Yeah, and they knew it was going to pop. That's why they traded for their own 2026 pick back. Yeah, like I said, I think they had the foresight to know that we've seen it already a couple times with the Achilles and calf strains throughout the postseason, and there's a precedent for it. So they traded for that pick back. That was just smart thinking on the Pacers front office.
Yeah.
Say I will say too. I'm so glad that we're getting some new coverage next year with the NBA going to ABC and Amazon.
No, I'm excited too. Look, just if nothing else, just the fact that the next time somebody gets injured, they're not going to roll it back and play it like 40, 55 times. Like, I think the injury once, maybe twice, and we're good. No one needs to see that over and over. And then they zoomed in on it. They zoomed in on it. That was insanity. So yeah, I'm glad that the NBA with ABC, I believe NBC too, right? Is it NBC again?
Yeah.
That
Oh,
we're gonna get NBC with that music
NBC.
back,
Yeah.
that theme music NBC. When as soon as that hits, it's gonna be on if they go back to the old NBC theme music. So look, devastating injuries in both conferences. But here's the thing: the Eastern Conference, if it was ever wide open before, even more wide open now. And now it becomes an arms race between teams like the Knicks and the Cavs and the younger teams like the Pistons and the Magic. Like right now, today, if you said who are the most dangerous teams in the East, right now, today, I would say Pistons and Magic. But that's me.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And yeah, I think one of my frustrations with the game too, watching Sunday, I think the most person that maybe I was frustrated with the most outside of ESPN for showing the injury 87 times.
Right.
They showed the first live action replay. You're like, yep, that's the Achilles. Like, I don't need to see it 20 more times. Like, we already know that's the Achilles. We've seen this already twice this postseason. But yeah, no, it's also like, man, Skip Bayless has just got to shut up. That was just stupid. Obviously, before the game start, they're like, "Oh, he's like, oh, they're making the excuse for the calf and the calf strain, and they're just trying to take the pressure off of him. That he's faking it, and then all of a sudden, he pops the Achilles, and then all of a sudden he's trying to act like, oh no, he shouldn't have played. Like,
Right.
didn't you just say he was faking it like 10 minutes ago? Like, don't
Right.
switch up now. It'll just be nice to get some new voices talking about the NBA outside of the usual suspects, because it feels like we just need a new voice in the room at this point. And I think I know we're talking. A lot of people are most excited about like Michael Jordan, but guys like Carmelo will be a lot of fun. Blake Griffin and Dirk and Noah Eagle. Like, it's going to be a great cast.
I think it'll be an interesting, Cav. Honestly, I know Jordan and Melo are the bigger names, but I'm not. What they add to me is the cherry on top. What? Shout out to people like Maria Taylor, who is back on TV, back covering the NBA. I think the way she left ESPN, how they treated her was wrong. So I'm glad to see her back. I think they're putting together a strong team, and I'm excited that NBC has the NBA again. So if nothing else, just that NBC theme music, classic.
Hey, and you know what? Jamal Crawford too. Like that's actually what I'm most excited about. Like I always said, I just want people who love the game of basketball and want to talk about it. And when I see guys like Jay Crossover who like live and breathe basketball, like yeah, okay. Yeah, give that to me. I'm excited.
I'm excited for Jamal Crawford being on there as well. You know what, though? I'm surprised that NBC did not pursue some kind of small deal with Jeff Teague. As much as I love Jamal Crawford, nobody tells a better story than Jeff Teague.
No, absolutely. See, that was so funny. They had the interview with Adam Silver, and if you know that Jeff Teague's podcast, he has a co-host named BN who's like the most out of pocket guy you'll ever see on a podcast, and he is just so funny. But they're interviewing Adam Silver, and I'm looking at Beehead, and I'm just like, man, he looks like that they just muted his mic, or he's in the principal's office in trouble. Like, be on your best behavior, man. I do love Jeff Teague. His podcast is fantastic. Shout out to those guys. It's great.
It is great. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, out there right now. Look, I'm excited. We always talk about the end of the season. It becomes the dog days because baseball is basically at the halfway point. And then football is in the early stages of OTAs and things of that nature. But the beauty of the NBA now, today's NBA, is it's 365, 24/7, 365. There's the season, and then there's the off season that takes up time in itself. We're going to get the draft tonight, and then and tomorrow night, and then we're going to get free agency, and then we're going to get summer league, and then before you know it, we're back. So I think there's plenty to talk about because obviously when you look in the West and in the East with the arms race, Houston making the big move to acquire KD. Yeah, I think it's a great move. I think that on paper, I can see where people go, well, the Rockets are going to win the West. I'm a little bit more practical. I think it makes them title contenders. I don't think they were title contenders last year. I think KD makes them a legit title contender. But do I think there's always what you think and what you believe to be true. I don't think Houston is going to win the West. I'll simplify. If this is the roster they walk into the season with, and they're going to go, we added KD, we're going to win the West. No, you're not. They're not going to win the West. I will say this. When people go, what's the biggest competition for OKC? I would just say potentially the state of Texas. You could go Houston, you go a healthy Mavs, or you can go San Antonio because I don't think San Antonio's done adding to their roster as well.
No, absolutely, and I do enjoy the Kevin Durant trade because it felt like the one thing that kind of killed the Rockets last year was just a consistent half-court offense, relying on relying on Jalen Green. He was just an inconsistent scorer for them at times. So when we're talking about upgrading from him to a lot more efficient Kevin Durant, I think he definitely fills a need that they absolutely needed.
Agreed.
So I did love the addition, and the funny part is I don't think they gave up that much to really get him. Like the worst thing they gave up, I think, was like the number 10 pick in the draft.
Right.
And I doubt the number 10 pick, Jalen Green, or the 5 seconds are going to have a better 3-year stretch than Durant's about to have with Houston.
And you didn't give up Tari Eason or Amen Thompson. Obviously, you got Şengün. They kept, to me, most of their core together. And their core is young outside of Kevin Durant and Fred VanVleet. And look, if they bring back him, I think that's good. But if you want to ask me where they're still weak at, if Durant is the closer, what happens when they play the better teams and they double Durant? Who's the other shot maker on that roster? The only guy that I can think of on that roster who is a shot maker talent-wise, but because he's kind of had some attitude problems, is Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore is actually every bit as talented as Jalen Green. And in some ways more talented because he's like a power guard. He can overpower guys in the post. So that would be my question mark for Houston going into the season. If this is going to be their roster going forward, who's the other shot maker on that roster?
I think even just having something as simple as Durant there to draw double teams in clutch time will help these other guys as a shot maker too.
No, I mean I get it. He's going to get doubled, but who can make a shot? Like I'm not. I don't deny that he's going to get doubled. But I'm doubling him because I don't believe that they have another shot maker. Is my point.
No, hey, that's fair enough. Hey, Reed Shepherd minutes. I'm hoping for it.
I mean that must be by you're going off of that by potential, right? Because he didn't even play. Like I I don't know what he can do.
Say
He's not gonna get more minutes than Cam Whitmore.
they did draft Reed to be because he was such an elite shooter at college. So I think this year he will get more of a run, and we'll see how well that transfers over to the NBA. And hey, Reed's a guy I had a really high hopes for last year, and it just turns out that there just wasn't enough minutes for him. But with the departure of Jalen Green, I'm sure that they'll probably split his minutes probably between Cam and Reed. So we'll see which one kind of impresses more with some of the minutes that they get.
I think Reed Shepherd needs to have a really big summer, like get in the gym, like really get the grind on, not just get his shot off, but shot creation. Like get a little bit stronger. Like I think he needs a really big summer, and then coming into camp ready to go, not just to be like a part, but really be like a main rotation player. I think that would be big for Houston if Reed can take that kind of lead.
No, absolutely. Say Pistons over Cavs is certainly a take. I think the Cavs will still be the 2 seed this next season.
I'm not saying they won't have a better record, but we don't really judge you off of what you do in the regular season. I think if the Cavs do nothing else and bring back the same roster like they did the year before where they opted for continuity, they're going to be really, really good. I don't think that changes either, though. If they bring back the same roster, they're going to come up short again. And I don't care if they're 150% healthy, they're not going to win the East with that roster.
Hey, I think this year, too, it almost feels like it's a little bit of a make or break year with Darius Garland's reputation. Like, we know the talent that Darius Garland is, but now we've had back-to-back playoff runs where he just cannot, physically hold up right into the postseason. He was hurt, last year. 2 years ago, they make it to the playoffs, but, he's coming off an injury. If he goes into the playoffs and he's just so banged up that he can't produce again, I feel like his reputation might take a little bit of a hit after a third year in a row of being injured.
And that's fair. I would also add that in the postseason, teams don't try to stop you at your strengths. They attack you at your weaknesses. And what happens in the postseason with Jared Allen? They spread you out. They put you in space. I love Jared Allen. But when you put him in space, he's done. He doesn't have the lateral quickness to stay in front of anybody, and they played him off the floor over and over and over again. It's not like Jared Allen's going to get suddenly quick and athletic. He's the player that he is. So I still think that it's really difficult. Do you make a team bend to your will or vice versa? The Pacers made them bend to their will because of the pace of the game. Jared Allen can't play in that series. I guess the good thing is this year he doesn't have to worry about it because Halliburton ain't playing. So that'll be a different Pacers team. But I don't think that's a free ride to the Cavs going to the finals. I think the Cavs are going to have their hands full in the postseason with a matchup versus a team like the Pistons or versus a team like the Magic.
No, and that's absolutely fair. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the this upcoming seasons. Well,
I just said that. Right.
Well,
right.
Hey, watch out for the Orlando Magic. They're going to be really good this year. And they still have the 25th pick in the draft to add talent.
Right. And look, some people are made to play with pressure and some people aren't. The Cavs really, if we're keeping it a buck, they should be the favorites to win the East. I don't think they can handle that kind of pressure.
Magic and Knicks only worry. JB don't scare me. I don't know. Jalen Brunson is pretty scary in the postseason. I'll give him credit. He had a heck of a run.
They do it in different ways because D. Mitch is more explosive. But I would say Jalen Brunson as an offensive player is just as scary as Donovan Mitchell. In some ways, he's better. He's definitely better in the fourth quarter.
No, absolutely. It's funny. Yeah, he say Jalen Brunson. If anything, I think Jalen. Oh, JB Bickerstaff. I thought we said Knicks. You meant Brunson. Okay, I got you. I think I think Brunson definitely. I think Brunson definitely showed, if anything, that he can be the number one option on a good playoff team, maybe even a title contending team. But we'll see if you can actually build the rest of the team around him. It's interesting. I just don't like the construction of the Knicks. Still, they made an Eastern Conference Finals run, which is fantastic. But when I have to watch, Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns on the defensive end try to work together, it is brutal.
If you were the Knicks and you had to make a big roster move, is the guy you're moving Cat?
It'd either be Cat or Mikal Bridges. But it's funny because at the end of the day, when it comes to Mikal, he's in his contract year, so that's probably the only reason you consider moving him. But yeah, I feel like if you're gonna make a move with the Knicks, like the answer is probably just move Cat. I just don't think, unless you can find a defensive center and move Cat to the 4, like, I just don't like the Brunson and Cat duo without like a rim protector behind him.
The problem with that is, like, I've heard people say, well, let's just start Mitchell Robinson. I don't think Cat and Mitchell Robinson work, especially against better teams, because the better teams know that Mitchell Robinson is not an offensive threat. Like, he's a terrific offensive rebounder, but I think he gives you spacing issues because he's a zero-range player.
I'll say, yeah, and then of course there's still the fact that Brunson and Cat are still on the floor, and you can still find ways to get them both involved in the action and kind of muck everything up. And yeah, the other problem with the idea of starting, both Cat and Mitchell Robinson is really simple. Relying on Mitchell Robinson to stay healthy through the entire season and a postseason run.
That's a big if.
That's pretty hypothetical at this point. Like, he was healthy last year during the playoffs, but he also missed like the first, 3 quarters of the season last year, like the first half of that. The year before that, he played through a big chunk of the season, but then obviously he was hurt in the playoffs. So
I said that, Cottrell. That's a good call. I think Lonzo, because of his skill set, a lot of teams should be calling the Bulls for Lonzo Ball. Brett's Bucks should be calling the Bulls for Lonzo Ball.
Oh, I absolutely wish. That would be fantastic. But no, instead, I'm debating with Bucks fans about, why Kyle Kuzma is actually a bad basketball player. That was the most unfortunate thing I had to do yesterday.
So you're saying that there are other Bucks fans that are arguing with you about how valuable Kuzma really is.
Yeah, no, because the one guy, he goes, Kuzma's still a starter in the league, man. I'm like, the word starter is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Like, anybody can be a starter. Like, that doesn't really mean much to me. Like, are you a good starter? Are you a quality starter? And the answer for Kuzma is just absolutely not. He is not a quality starter in this league. So that's always the funny part to me. And he's like, well, you have to look at over the last 6 or 7 years. Like, why do I have to look 6 years? I don't care what he was doing 6 years ago. Like, I'm glad that he got his Lakers ring, but like, also, that's not the same player who he is right now.
Facts. I believe I remember watching Kyle Kuzma in the summer league, Brett. I don't know if you remember that. I think him and Lonzo were on the same summer league team, and Kyle Kuzma overachieved. He was like the best player in summer league. Lakers won the summer league championship, and he took that momentum into his rookie year. And you're like, yo, this Kuzma kid can play, and he just got better and better and made himself into a legitimate, really good starting player. Not a star, but a really good, solid starter. And I think he underachieved. They won that ring. He wanted to get paid. They shipped him off, and Washington gave him this huge contract like he was going to be the next big thing. And that goes to show you again how bad Wizards management is. They were like, yeah, the duo of Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole are going to lead us into the next era. And when you think like that, it's why you're a perennial lottery team.
No, absolutely. I do remember that, Mo, because I remember the conversations coming out of that summer league when people were just kind of talking pretty crazy, like, "Hey, man, maybe this guy is better than Jason Tatum." It's like, there's a reason why one won 3 and one won 27. Like, calm down. Kuzma's very good, but yeah, no, I definitely remember that. But
Oh my God. I remember having those conversations too. And I was like, I think he's a good player, but calm down. I was like, he's a good player, but let's not. I still think we should have took Tatum, and people are like, "What? Are you crazy?" He said, "Not only do we have Lonzo, now we got a guy that's basically just like Tatum." I'm like, I don't know about all that. I think he's a good player. I was trying to be optimistic, but while not being insane at the same time. And a lot of fan bases, they just overrate their own talent. They made Kuzma basically to be Tatum's equal, which was insane.
no, absolutely. That's one of the best parts about the NBA draft, though, right? Like watching the fan bases overrate their own talent. I remember that somebody posted a picture like 10 years ago today, and it was like the Carl Anthony Towns draft. And I'm like, oh, I remember that draft. I remember thinking that, Rashad Vaughn could be something, even though it's pretty clearly that he was going to do just nothing. He was just never that great of a player. But to me, that was, it's always the best part is just looking at, your own team's rookies and going, oh, they give me some hope for the future. Let's do this.
Yeah, look, Contrell, I like Lonzo too, but I think I thought at the time the Lakers should have took Tatum. I didn't think Lonzo was going to be a star. I liked him, and I thought he would be a good player. But the things that Magic Johnson was saying, who's my favorite player all time, Magic was saying crazy stuff. He was saying some stuff that just wasn't based on reality. Lonzo Ball was not going to be a transcendent player. Injuries or not, that injuries didn't derail him from being transcendent. He wasn't on the verge of being anything remotely like that. What he had turned himself into, respectfully, by the way, was an elite high level 3-and-D guy who could facilitate as a secondary defender, a facilitator. But he's not the kind of point guard that creates shots off the dribble for people. That's not what he does. He doesn't penetrate. He doesn't attack the basket. He's not that kind of point guard. He's very unique in how he plays. Really good passer, but shot creation is not a strength. I like him as a basketball player, but I like him for what I know him to be, not what people tell me he is.
But by the way, Mo, I completely forgot that happened. I always like to pick on Magic for trading away Zubac. But I forgot. I forgot about the Clippers did before. This. Obviously when they won the title, people were talking about Clippers legend Isaiah Hartenstein. I was like, he was on the Clippers, wasn't he? And that just reminded me why they got rid of him. Never forget. Maybe even I think it might be worse than the Muscala and Zubac thing. Never forget they got rid of him so they can bring in like 50-year-old John Wall to join their team back in like 2019.
They have made some. Look, hindsight's 2020. If we can go back into the time machine, and Kawhi is negotiating with the Lakers and the Clippers, and the Lakers are like, we got him, and he's like, yeah, let me go talk to them for a minute. Him and Uncle Dennis meet with the Clippers, and at the last minute, Kawhi goes, how about this? If you can get PG here with me, then you got me. Who we got to trade? You can trade that Shea kid and some picks and get, you know what I mean? Like, if you could go back in the time machine, maybe you do things differently, but you never know. All I know is Kawhi Leonard and Uncle Dennis, they did all that. They helped shape Oklahoma City. And look, the Clippers thing, ultimately the goal to win a title, the Kawhi Leonard Paul George pairing was a fail because they didn't win a title. And as great a player as Kawhi Leonard is, whether he's healthy or not, I feel safe in saying the Clippers are not going to win a title in the Kawhi Leonard era.
No, absolutely. I do remember like hating the move, not even at the time because of iHeart, because I didn't really know that much about iHeart quite yet, but I just remember hating them signing John Wall, and people were trying to tell me like, "Oh man, but some third option's going to have to guard him," and I was like, "And they'll do just fine." Like this isn't 16, 17 John Wall anymore. This is 2020 John Wall.
And he did
Like
not look like that either, right?
no, like obviously John Wall made a living off being faster, just more athletic than everybody, and defensively he used that athleticism. He was an absolute demon on the defensive end, but
Was.
after a couple, knee injuries, he comes back. I'm like, nah, that's a wrap. He can't stay in front of anybody. He doesn't have the burst to get by people. They're like, he had like 10 points. He could score like 10 points a game. Like, yeah, but he has to take like 12 shots to get the 10 points. Like, I'm not really moved by all that.
The crazy part about the Kawhi Leonard situation and Paul George, I remember Shannon Sharp was telling everybody that he had it from a source that it was in the bag. Kawhi's coming to the Lakers to play with AD and LeBron. Like, it's in the bag. It's done. And then he revealed that he had talked to Magic. Magic said he had dinner with Uncle Dennis and Kawhi, that it's a done deal. And then later on that night, it was announced Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to the Clippers. I was like, what? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, it almost feels like they would have had him in the bag, but we all know Kawhi is just more of a private person, and he's not the kind of guy that wants that kind of stuff flexed and talked about publicly. There's a reason it was a private dinner. I'm sure if Kawhi wanted that, public, he would have made it public.
Facts. Look, it kind of negates the myth that the Lakers, as a Laker fan, that the Lakers get everybody they want in free agency. I always tell people they did have two of the biggest free agents ever, but that's the only two. They got Shaq in '96, and they got LeBron. In between those two, we don't get anybody.
No, yeah, they went through a long stretch of just not really getting, any big name free agents. But say, you know what? We got to witness greatness in between that time, like Lakers legend Andre Ingram. Shout out to Andre.
That's a good one. Wow. I heard that name in a while. What's the other kid's name? Robert Sacre. Remember him? Like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had some squads back then. Yeah, and Cottrell, I think you're 100% correct. He knew he wanted to play in Los Angeles. He wanted to be home. But you're right. I think he looked at what could have happened, and he didn't want to be a third option to LeBron and AD. And I get that. I totally get that.
No, yeah. I remember the one time bringing up LeBron to my friend, and he jokingly goes, I only respect real Lakers legends. So my response was, how about Marcelo Huertas? And he's like, yep, now you're talking.
What? Wow.
Say Marcelo Huertas and Tariq Black, the real OG Lakers.
Oh, Tariq Black. Those were dark days. Those were dark days for Lakers fans. You start bringing up names like that. Ooh, you can go way back. Smush Parker, brutal. We've had a lot of success, but we've had our share of dark days, just like any other franchise. Just not as many.
Hey, that's I think that was one of the reasons why I was so excited back in 2014 when the Bucks drafted, 15 when the Bucks drafted Rashad Vaughn, because I'm like, man, I just sat there watching Nate Walters' point guard minutes 2 years ago. At this point, I'll take any high-level guard play. I'm hoping that somebody can get there. Little did we know later we were going to get that, because obviously a little while we got the Chris Middleton trade shortly after that. So
Kyle just brought up in the chat Devin George. Woo, brutal. You wanna see torture? I remember watching Devin George try to take people off the dribble. Brutal stuff. Nasty work.
It is the off season, so it is almost my favorite time of the year, Mo, where it's going to be straight skill guys getting all the love. man, this guy would be a top 3 player in the league today, and it's just like Jamal Crawford. Love Jay Crawford, but it's always like the real like guys with the nice highlight tapes that always get highlighted in the off season. And it's like, oh, this guy's like a top 3 player. Like, no, Boogie Cousins would not be a top 3 player in the league today. Like, I'm sorry. Love Boogie, but you got to watch the full game and not just the highlight tapes.
Cottrell said the Bucks should have traded Michael Redd to the Cavs.
Leave Michael Redd alone.
I like that.
He was my favorite player when I first got into Milwaukee. So no, leave Michael Redd alone.
Come on, Cottrell. You guys had all the talent. You had Larry Hughes. Come on. You had Delonte West in them.
Yeah, you had Ben Wallace and Shaq. Don't get greedy.
Right. Come on, man. Yeah, Ricky Davis. Mr. Triple-Double Ricky Davis. Come on, man.
Oh, I can't even make fun of him for, throwing it off the backboard to try to get his triple-double because I've watched Giannis pull some very similar stunts, so I'm like, all right, you know what? I respect it. No, you do not get – Rafer Alston would be a legend in this league.
Oh, Skip. Yeah, Skip. Look, I don't know. Skip, he might be nicer in today's NBA. Still, his shot wasn't great, but that handle would have been fun to watch.
Yeah, no, speaking of guys entering the league, are you excited for the draft tonight, Mo? I think I'm looking forward to it.
I am. I really am. I think this is one of those drafts where the familiar names will go, but after the familiar names, I always believe there's always a guy that gets drafted 15 and further back that ends up outshining a lot of guys that are in the lottery. You know what I mean? There's always that guy that like you believe he was picked 21st. Like, I think there's going to be a couple of guys like that in this draft. And I do think there'll be multiple draft night trades. I really do believe that. Look, this particular NBA offseason, we've had some wild ones. I think this one is going to be the wildest.
Yeah, no. By the way, Cottrell, we don't talk about Robert Tractor Trailer on the show.
Not Ira Newball. Woo! Woo! See, Cottrell is a historian. I not heard that name. Woo!
Of course, I hear Tractor Trailer, and the first thing I think of is,
Dirk.
the guy we traded for Dirk? Yeah.
Dirk.
No,
Ira Newball. Wow. That's good. That's good, Cottrell. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think one of the trades that happens is I do think the 76ers move out of their number 3 spot. I think they'll look to add depth in this draft. I think maybe they'll look to add 2 or 3 picks, which is why I think their perfect trade partner is, Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn moves up to 3.
Brooklyn had all those picks. Do they have a plan? What are you gonna do with all? You know what I mean? I feel like you need to kind of like you said, they kind of need to bundle them up to move up further, right?
And that's what I think happens. Like, I'm starting to think that maybe Ace Bailey, for example, I think he might go I think Ace Bailey might go number 3, but I think that it would be via a trade. And I think Brooklyn would be a team to watch out for. They have 5 first-rounders this year. I don't think you have room for 5. Not only room on the roster, but minutes for 5 first-rounders. So I could see them consolidating like three of those picks to move up into the top 3 and then still have a couple extra to still get a couple rotation players.
I like that. I like that way of thinking too. Daryl Morey's got to be thinking more forward thinking, and I like the idea that they go down a little bit to better build out their roster. So you got to be smart now. The same way that when we're talking about Presti moving up because he feels like there's an opportunity to add a unique talent to the defending champions. Like, I feel like if Presti can pull this off, this would be similar to the Lakers, who are already the champs, adding James Worthy.
No, absolutely. Obviously, like I said, with the Thunder too, I think they're going to move up. Like I think you're going to see a couple different draft night trades. Definitely from Brooklyn, and probably, like I said, from I don't even OKC might stand pat, but I also think that because I think they'll either trade both picks and move up to get one, or they might draft someone and just kind of trade the second pick for maybe some more future picks. Either way, I don't see Oklahoma City leaving with two new players tonight because there's just flat out no room on the roster for two
And don't
more
forget,
players.
correct me if I'm wrong, last year they drafted a young man and they stashed him away in Europe. When do they plan on bringing him? You know what I'm saying? Like Presti's got a guy stashed away in Europe that they value that at some point you plan on bringing him here, right?
Topic, yeah, he actually wasn't stashed away. He just
he got injured, right?
Yeah, he had an ACL tear, and they just rested him the entire year because they didn't really need him. But that's also wild to think about. Like, they literally just had a lottery pick last year, and their team was so stacked that they're just like, you can rest the entire year. Like, we're good.
I'm with Cottrell 100%. The two guys that you want to avoid like the plague, Brad Stevens and Sam Presti, because they are out here playing chess and everybody else is playing catch up. They're playing checkers. Like you, look, they better not. Like you can't predict how somebody's career is going to go, but we always talk about culture and where you land. It impacts a young player greatly. If Ace Bailey ends up on the Thunder in that culture, in that environment, that's insane.
No, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. And said, you know what? I still love the idea of ignoring Stevens and Presti, but like I said, I still think they'll find a way.
Well, speaking of Brad Stevens, so they moved Holiday, and now they've gotten rid. We said this was going to happen. We said Porzingis was next. Porzingis is now going to be a member of the Atlanta Hawks, and with that move, just like that, they're underneath the second apron, just like that. And I don't think Brad Stevens is done wheeling and dealing. I think he and Sam Presti are going to be as busy or busier than anybody out there the next 3 months.
No, absolutely. Ace doesn't want to come off the bench, apparently. Yeah,
then he don't want to go to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think a team like Brooklyn trading up for him would be perfect because I think you want to jump Washington because I think Washington will just take Ace if he's there, maybe even Utah. So I think you actually probably do need to jump into the top 3 or maybe even that Hornets pick at 4 if you really want to get Ace. So and I think Brooklyn would be a great because he wouldn't have to come off the bench if he goes to Brooklyn. But it is kind of just funny to me because at the end of the day, when we're talking about talent, if you're that talented, it'll show whether it's off the bench for a little bit or in a limited role.
Thank you. You'll start if you're that dude and you go to Oklahoma City, you're gonna show immediately. Well, I'm better than Case and Wallace. I'm better than Wiggins. Like you're gonna play yourself into playing time, right?
Right. Like not every single superstar in the league, just starts as a starter and dominates right away. Like Tatum started off in a smaller role. We saw Kobe started off in a smaller role. Like
he did.
Say Dirk didn't, have a massive role when he first started. They tried to more slowly bring him along. Like
people
if you're
that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I'd say if you're that talented, like it'll show.
Oh yeah, they won the Holiday trade. I feel like the Holiday trade was bizarre to me and Brett because we were like, we thought you would have to attach a pick to get rid of Holiday. They actually got back picks and they got back a younger player who's contract eligible because he's in his lame duck season, which means you can either go, yo, he's a perfect fit and we can extend him, or you can turn around and flip him. Like Brad Stevens he's a bad man. The only man badder is Sam Presti.
Yeah, I agree that the Celtics won the Holiday trade. Like that is wild to me that they actually got picks and a young talent back for him. And that's the beauty of getting Simons. Like he might fit the culture. He might not. Guess what? After this year, if he does, great, resign him. If not, just let him walk and take the cap space and pick up somebody else for when Tatum comes back.
Wait a minute. Did Cottrell say that? Am I saying it right? Did he say, is that James Harden in OKC?
Oh, yeah, when we were talking about talent showing through.
Yeah. No argument. Yeah.
Yeah, Porzingis was just different because I think Porzingis' value would have been higher, but the problem with him was just he couldn't stay healthy, and that's just kind of big. Like, he missed last year's pretty much almost entire finals run outside of like game 3 and 4 in the finals. Then this year he gets a mysterious, illness that kind of hampers him. He only plays like 40 games or something like that. Like, I love KP, but he just could not stay healthy. So it is very telling that it was just Niang in a second for him.
He didn't look like himself in the postseason. Like, they were saying that there were still lingering effects from the whatever the injury was. So yeah, it's tough. And look, if we could redo how things played out, let's say the Celtics had been able to repeat as champions, and Porzingis looked like more like his normal self, I think there would have been a different calculation. But that's the beauty of sports, the good and the bad. A devastating injury to your franchise player, and just like that, Brad Stevens is like, I got to think ahead. I got not just next year, but I got to think about 2026 and beyond. And so you have to make those moves. Suddenly, let's go. We're shedding Drew. We're shedding Porzingis. I don't think Brad Stevens is done. We talked about this before. The name Jaylen Brown comes up a lot. I don't think the Boston Celtics plan on trading Jaylen Brown at all. They love Jaylen Brown, but if somebody makes Brad Stevens an offer that he absolutely can't refuse, I think he'll make it. I do. I don't think there's anybody on the current roster that's untradeable outside of the injured Jason Tatum.
And I completely agree with that, but at the end of the day, like, apparently teams are, sending really like strong offers for like Brown and White, and Stevens is just kind of refusing them, which just kind of shows that you're gonna need to have a massive overpay in order to move, in order to obtain Brown and White.
Facts.
Like, it seems like they are taking the calls, but it's just like, you're gonna have to give up a lot more. So yeah, I don't think those two are going anywhere. I think they very clearly see them as like just kind of the main pillars of the team with Tatum, Brown, and White.
Yeah.
So
I think the Celtics, like a lot of people think this is going to be a down year where they're fighting for a play-in spot. I think Brad Stevens is trying to have the kind of offseason that says, no, we're trying to be a contender still, even without Tatum.
Kyle says Hauser's probably next to go.
Yeah,
I don't think Simons spends the entire year in Boston. I think they do. He plays half a season and they flip him.
No matter what.
I think they'll end up flipping him. Yeah, I think Boston just values just more guys who will like compete on the defensive side of the ball, and I think there'll be a little bit of a disconnect between Simons and what the team wants, and I think he'll put up numbers because Simons will always, put up his numbers. But I think his effort on the defensive end, which tends to be lacking a lot, will really bother them, and they'll just end up moving him at the trade deadline. But I think he'll get a nice haul just for simply the offensive production he'll put up. Hey, and you know what? The Celtics do have a history of doing that. They remember how they got Derek White? They got Josh Richardson to be a 40% shooter for half the year, and then they flipped him for Derek White, and they sent it first, to the Spurs. So I think you're going to see something similar to almost like a Josh Richardson sort of thing happen this year with Simons.
I agree. I can see that happen. Look, like I said, Brad Stevens is real forward thinking. I stand by what I said. When Jason Tatum comes back the year after next, he's going to come back to a new roster. I think familiar faces will be there, White and Brown, but after that, I don't know who's going to be there.
And that's kind of the thing with the Celtics, and that the beauty of it is they've already been so good at like drafting and developing that they might get more value out of trading someone like Simons or Hauser instead of paying their next contract, because they've already shown that they can develop really well. So they'll probably just draft and develop their replacement, and they'll be good to go in a couple of years.
That's an interesting proposition, Cottrell, because if they can move him and get picks and get back Marcus Smart back into the fold, well then Marcus Smart basically comes back as Drew Holiday, right? You know what I mean? That was the trade before, and you get Marcus Smart back, then you've got once again you've got the lockdown backcourt and you got picks. That sounds like a Brad Stevens move to me. On the other side of it, that also sounds like a Wizards move. You finally get rid of Jordan Poole, and what do? You bring in the guy like Simons, who basically has the same skill set as Jordan Poole. Good job.
You say, yeah, no, that would be the most Wizards move they can make, and that would be the funniest thing ever. Say, I know, like I said, I'm excited for tonight. It's going to be great. This offseason is going to be fantastic.
It is.
And don't worry, I know there's a lot of trades that happen. I'm saving that for tomorrow, so you'll have to tune in to And One tomorrow to hear about our opinions on Kevin Durant and all of those bigger name trades that happened. It's gonna be great. I think a name to look out for tonight that Oklahoma City could target if they trade up. Colin Murray Boyle, bigger forward, higher IQ. He just seems like a Thunder. So I'm definitely looking forward to the draft tonight. Because after the first two picks, I think things start to get wild after that.
It does. I think after the first two picks, you're going to hear a few names where we're all going to go, who? From where? You watch. They're going to be names that are hard to pronounce, that we didn't see them. There's no tape on them. You can be like, what? You can go right to YouTube and type their name in and see if there's any kind of tape on them. But I love that aspect of the draft when somebody does a complete 360 and throws us off. So I'm excited for those kind of things too.
Yeah, I do think the one guy that might be getting rated a little too high, who's also, I think he's talented, but I think he might be getting rated too high, Jeremiah Fears.
Oh, okay.
I see his name start to get popped into, like, maybe he'll go fifth to the Jazz and go top 5. I don't think he'll be a very good top 5 pick. I think he has enough talent that he'll end up somewhere in the lottery, but I don't think he's good enough to put into the top 5, honestly.
Let me ask you this, Brett, real quick. Wherever he gets drafted, what kind of player do you think he translates to be at the next level?
See, the beauty of like someone like Fears is he's able to get a lot of rim pressure, but the problem is he just cannot, shoot that well. So, and that's kind of his issue right now. And he'll turn the ball over. If you want a high end comparison, like maybe he can develop into like at best like a more Jamal Murray, but I think I think right now, if you're looking at the player he'll be coming into the league, probably closer to a higher usage Jose Calderon or Thomas Satoransky. I'm not very high on him right now, but I do see the potential for him to become an all NBA player. So, okay. Or not an all NBA, but like fringe all NBA. Like he could become an all-star fringe all NBA, but I do not think that you're drafting a guy like him in the top 5.
Gotcha.
Save. Yeah, Mo, our hour's up. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate you, Kyle, Cottrell, and everybody else for joining us. Hey, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
No, absolutely. Like I said, we definitely enjoyed coming on this morning. Make sure to check out Wire to Wire tonight. I'm sure they'll be talking about the draft too, and they'll be talking about a whole lot of other things. Say tomorrow you can catch us on and one, catching up on night one of the draft, and obviously night two will be going on. So it will be a great time. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy the rest of your night.